Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast News Pack for Monday, January 10th. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey, Facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast, YouTube.com, the Hockey Podcast, where you can subscribe there. You can also subscribe to wherever you get your audio as well. And of course, be aware for tonight's episode where we present our word of the week for an opportunity to win tickets to a future Vancouver Canucks Calgary Flames game at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Let's get into the news of the day. We'll start with the 3 stars of the week in the NHL. It is Colorado Avalanche left winger Gabriel Landeskog is the first star. He led the NHL with 7 points, 4 goals, 3 assists in 3 games, and the Avalanche won all 3 games. And they've moved into 3rd place in the Central Division. Of course, that was all highlighted by the comeback on Saturday from a 4-1 deficit against the Toronto Maple Leafs to win 5-4 in overtime. And he also got a hat trick, and he is in a 7-1 victory over the Winnipeg Jets, which perhaps was more of a statement game in where Colorado's at, but not as much national attention. UC Suros of the National Predators is the second star. He stopped 125 of 131 shots. He went 3-0 with a 2-point goals against average and a .954 save percentage. The Predators are now in first place in the Central Division, 23-11-2 for 48 points. And Suros has been a key to that. And then Tomas Hertl is the third star from the San Jose Sharks. He registered 6 points, 4 goals, 2 assists in 3 games, 2 game-winning goals as the Sharks picked up a pair of wins last week. In terms of games tonight, we have 3 games that have been postponed: Columbus and Montreal, Tampa Bay and New Jersey, Minnesota, Winnipeg. So 3 games will be played tonight. Boston and Washington. Seattle will be in Colorado to play the Kraken, and then the Rangers will be facing the LA Kings. Some other games that will be postponed include tomorrow's Ottawa Senator Edmonton Oiler game. That game will be rescheduled for this Saturday, January 15th, as that has happened. Of course, tonight's Lightning Devils game is part of that postponement as well. And of course, we are now at 103 games that have been postponed because of the pandemic. So the Vancouver Canucks will finally be back in action after a 10-day break. They had their game against Ottawa on Saturday postponed, but they are off to Florida to play the Florida Panthers. They've got Brock Besser and Pedersen and Dickinson did practice today. So we shall see what happens with that. In terms of where the Oilers are at, 6 members of the Oilers support staff and 5 players entered protocol on Saturday. And the Oilers have not played until since January 5th, and their next scheduled game they've had a number of games postponed here. The Golden Knights game has been postponed. The Chicago Blackhawks game was postponed. That was on the 18th. Golden Knights was on the 14th. New York Islanders on January 8th. Minnesota Wild on January 9th. The next they are scheduled to host the Panthers on the 20th, and then they have the Ottawa Senators coming up on Saturday. A road game against the Winnipeg Jets has also been postponed as well. And the Devils, that's their game tonight against Tampa Bay being postponed. That's one of 6 games that they've had postponed. And, of course, the Senators have a number of games postponed. But it is, according to Ryan Pike, current of the Flames, the Flames and Senators are scheduled to play on Thursday in spite of the restrictions that are going on in Calgary. So that is expected to happen there. Of course, it is half capacity right now, and it is. Let's just pull this up, and no food or drink allowed at the Saddledome. But that game is looking at this point, as of today, as of this broadcast, scheduled to happen. So the Flames, of course, are on a 3-game losing streak as they lost to Florida, Tampa Bay, and Carolina to finish off their road trip. So that will be the Flames' next game. We'll be digging into the Flames a lot in tonight's hockey podcast, talking about where the Flames are at. Do they need to acquire a puck-moving defenseman? The names Mark Giordano has come up. John Klingberg has asked for or requested to be traded. We'll touch on that a little bit as well, and some other contract news. But moving on to some other news that has been going on here, let's touch on the Arizona Coyotes, because that is a significant news going on there, as the Coyotes have been in an arena situation for some time here, as I give me one moment, we just pulled this information up here. They do not have, according to a report here, they do not have the requisite votes in Tempe City Council to approve a $1.7 billion arena and entertainment district. This is an article on Sportsnet, but the Arizona Coyotes are in another arena situation, and of course with their lease with Gila River Arena signing off this year, and there are 3 yeses of the votes and 2 no and 2 that are undecided. So this is according to Craig Morgan of Phoenix Sports. He covers the Arizona Coyotes. And the Coyotes proposed a $1.7 billion development in Tempe. It's, of course, east of Phoenix. And the city of Tempe said the evaluation process would take several months and will include extensive examinations and opportunities for community feedback. And it's not sure where they are at that point. And Glendale announced that they will not renew its agreement with the franchise beyond the 21-22 season. Going back to the Flames here, and speaking of arenas, the city council Calgary City Council is also the plan at this particular point. Of course, that deal between the arena, between the Flames, CSEC, Flames ownership, and the city has terminated their deal with the new arena. So they are going to go. The arena deal is going back to city council this week, and the city will be looking at those options moving forward. What they are, we are not sure, but we'll have that's according to Ryan Pike from Flames Nation on that. And then as we move on here to some other news going on in the NHL, we'll touch on this more today, as I mentioned before, but John Klingberg is frustrated with contract talks and has, in essence, asked for a trade. He doesn't feel that he's been appreciated. He's in a final year of his contract. He signed in 2015, and he's set to become an unrestricted free agent. According to what Jeff Merrick said this weekend, he's seeking an 8-year deal, and unsure if the Stars will qualify that. So there's a possibility he has requested a trade. In terms of where the Dallas Stars are at right now, they certainly are not in sell mode. I mean, as we look at the standings here, the West is a very tight race right now. That includes the Vancouver Canucks, that includes the Calgary Flames, that includes the Edmonton Oilers as well. The Stars sit right now in 36 points, just 3 points behind the Kings for that second wild card spot, but they have 3 games in hand. They do have to leapfrog Winnipeg, Edmonton, and San Jose to do that, but they're 4-6 in the last 10. They lost their last game against St. Louis in a heartbreaking fashion. 13-3-1 at home, 4-10-1 on the road. So I don't know if the Stars are going to be making a sell deal. If they're going to do this, this would have to be a hockey deal as well. But we'll see where the Dallas Stars end up. But that is one of those questions. John Klingberg's name is now in trade bait, along, of course, reports Jacob Chychrun is out there. as well as, and some are saying Mark Giordano as well. So we'll discuss that more on today's hockey podcast. If the Flames do need some puck moving defensemen, what options are there out there? The Evander Kane saga took another turn this weekend as he was waived by the Sharks, and the contract has been officially terminated, which means that the NHLPA will be filing a grievance for it. He cleared waivers on November 29th, but he was placed on unconditional waivers, and the contract has been terminated. The Sharks said in a statement that they informed Kane they were terminating the contract for breach of NHL standard player contract and for violation of AHL COVID-19 protocols. Reports that he went to Vancouver, that is what's being disputed. And he's also been the subject of investigations prior to this suspension. There was the issue with domestic abuse, the accusation of that, accusations of gambling, and fake vaccine card accusations as well. So the Evander Kane situation continues to take its turn. According to some reports, there are teams that are interested in acquiring his services. So we will have to see what happens on that front. As we continue on here, number of players again entering COVID protocol. Just seems like something that we keep talking about. Have to keep talking about. But that includes Oilers prospect Dylan Holloway has been placed in COVID protocol. Gabriel Landeskog has been one of the players placed in COVID protocol as well. So that continues to happen. There was a couple of Colton Parayko was in COVID protocol. We continue to have a number of players in that as well. So that is something to watch out for. Travis Sanheim for the Philadelphia Flyers has been cleared after missing 2 games. Justin Braun, though, was placed in COVID protocol. The Jacob Chychrun has been placed in. He already was injured. He's been placed in COVID protocol. Corey Schwab, the goaltending coach, has been placed in COVID protocol for the Coyotes. Scott Wedgwood as well. The Wild have activated Joel Eriksson Ek from injured reserve, and he could play against Anaheim on the weekend, Sunday or Friday. Sorry about that, Friday. Jake Sanderson, Ottawa Senators' first round pick from a couple of years ago, from the Erik Karlsson trade. He is going to join the U.S. Olympic team for the Beijing Winter Olympics. He was drafted 5th overall and played with the University of North Dakota, 6 goals and 22 points in 17 games, and 37 points in 39 games in his collegiate career. That was the draft, of course, had the Tim Stützle draft. So that's interesting to see that part as that as well. Moving on to the WHL. The big news is there are 15 teams right now that have had their activities paused due to COVID protocols here, as we just pulled up that information here. There's also been a couple of trades that we'll talk about, so lots going on that. They've postponed some games as well, but the 15 they had some games included the Winterhawks and Kelowna Rockets. That game was scheduled and that did play. The Portland Winterhawks and Vancouver Giants, that game was postponed. Give me one quick moment here as dealing with some technical issues here. But The WHL is dealing with COVID as well. And the 15 teams that have had their pauses are the Calgary Hitmen, Edmonton Oil Kings, Everett Silvertips, Kamloops Blazers, Medicine Hat Tigers, Moose Jaw Warriors, Prince Albert Raiders, Prince George Cougars, Red Deer Rebels, Regina Pats, Saskatoon Blades, Spokane Chiefs, Tri-City Americans, Victoria Royals, and Winnipeg Ice. There have been 8 games postponed. Tuesday's games, Hitman and Regina, Prince George at Edmonton, Spokane at Victoria, as well as the 2 Kelowna at Prince George. Wednesday's games also postponed, Calgary at Moose Jaw, Spokane at Victoria, Kelowna at Prince George. The Hurricanes and Swift Current Broncos have been cleared, and some of these will be hopefully clearing very soon. In a statement this week on Friday, Commissioner Ron Robertson said the WHL and our member clubs remain fully committed to playing through the 68-game WHL regular season schedule and playoffs. As we work through the challenges presented by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, our priority continues to be to deliver a world-class development experience for WHL players, staff, and officials, and to do so in a safe and healthy manner. On behalf of the entire WHL, I wish to thank WHL fans, WHL corporate partners everywhere for their patience as we work to reschedule games in the coming weeks. So that is what is going on in terms of games. So the Rockets have a couple games postponed. They'll be back in action Friday against the Victoria Royals. That is what has been scheduled anyway. And we'll keep track on that. The goaltender of the week, and they played 1 game, but you still award it. Taylor Gauthier, he was acquired from the Prince George Cougars just at the end of last year, December 28th. He posted a 3-1 victory over the Kelowna Rockets. He only played 1 game, but there was only 1 game last week. So he's the goalie of the week. And the other one is from the Portland Winterhawks, and that was the only other player, James Stefan, 2 from the Portland Winterhawks, 3 points in 2 games in the Winterhawks 3-1 victory over the Kelowna Rockets. A couple of other trades to talk about in the WHL. The Winnipeg Ice have acquired Jaron Newell from the Kelowna Rockets for a 9th-round pick in the 2024 draft. It's a Newell was on the Rockets protected list. He spent the last 2 seasons in the AJHL, so but he will now be part of the Winnipeg Ice organization. Another trade here is a trade deadline in the WHL is coming up quite quickly here. The Regina Pats have acquired Logan Linklater from the Prince Albert Raiders. Linklater is 18 years old. He is from Kindersley. He has 5 points in 22 appearances this season. John Paddock, GM and head coach John Paddock, says it's a chance to add some depth to their group. And finally, the other one is the Regina Pats claimed Nathan Salami off waivers from the Wheat Kings. He's a veteran blue liner, and he's appeared in 2 games this season with Brandon. And John Paddock says, we're happy to add some real solid defenseman and high-quality character player to our team. Salam was originally selected by the Wheat Kings in the 7th round of the 2016 WHL draft. He is 6'1". He has 185 pounds, total 32 points, 7 goals, 25 assists. And finally, Mason McTavish is our final story. He has been part of the OHL. He has been traded from Peterborough to Hamilton. He was part of the World Junior team, the Canada World Junior team. The Petes get Alex Ferrand and Jonathan Mealy in a series of draft selections. McTavish was 3rd overall picked by the Anaheim Ducks, and he had a goal and assist from the San Diego Gulls, and 2 goals and an assist in 9 games with the Ducks to open the season before he was sent back to junior. So that is the news for today, Monday, January 10th. Again, Follow us on Twitter, podcast_hockey, facebook.com, the hockey podcast, youtube.com, the hockey podcast. Join us tonight for our live episode where we have a special announcement, as it is the final episode of the hockey podcast. We'll explain that if you come listen to us as well. And so listen to us then. Thanks, everyone, and we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.